Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya for those of you that are new here, and I'm a watercolor and acrylic artist. So in today's video, I'm going to be painting a watercolor landscape for you. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so to get started, I've got my Arches watercolor paper and I've got my Dr. P.H. Martin India ink, and I've got several colors here. I'll let you know what colors I'm using as I'm going along. And I have my Grumbacher paintbrushes. I'm going to be starting out with a size 12. It's one of the bigger brushes I have because it's a bigger surface that I'm trying to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and get my hills here. I had done, I'm not sure if you can see this on camera, but I had done several hills here for my landscape. I'm just going to go ahead and get each one individually saturated with some water. All right, so I've got my first hill with water here, and I'm going to be using my aqua on this one. I am going to be pulling in my Winsor Newton watercolors as well, but I wanted to start out with my inks first. I just love the way these inks work with water. Look at how it bleeds, just beautifully. And then I'll go ahead and layer on some watercolor later. Right now I just wanted to start out with my inks. So I am also going to be bringing in a little bit of my watercolor here. This is my indigo, Winsor Newton indigo. And I'm going to be bringing in just little dots here and there, just to bleed through. And they're going to be making all sorts of beautiful texture with this pattern. So I'm going to add water again. And I think on this hill, I'm going to be pulling in my yellow ochre. So it's my India ink yellow ochre. And on this one, I'm going to be bringing some lines this way, because I love to do like little lines in my hills, like it's fresh cut grass or the field was just cut. So I'm going to let it dry that way and see how that ends up looking. And I'm going to be doing this hill in a green grass. It's just it's almost like a limey green. See how that looks. This one here, I'm just going to splotch in just like that. Just dot it and let it bleed and do its thing. Okay, so while these are still wet, I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of my Winsor Newton watercolor. And let's see, I think I'm going to bring in my indigo up here as well. I love the way that's just bleeding up, all those little lines. All right, let's see, I'm going to take a little bit more of that indigo. And let's see, maybe a few more of these dots, just to fill in a little bit of that white space. I'm really liking that. That's beautiful. I can't wait to see how that dries. Look at this one. It's going right up. It looks like little blades of grass. That's beautiful. All right, I do want to tone down this green though. It is still saturated. I'm going to go ahead and dry this really quick, and then I'm going to add some more green on here. Probably my watercolor green. Okay, so I went ahead and I added a little bit of my Rose Madder watercolor, because I wanted to just kind of just neutralize this green. It was too bright. So if you add the complementary color of what's there, it will turn it into a little bit of a brown muted color. So that's what I did. So I added a little bit of that orangey red on top of my green, and then I went ahead and added a little bit more of the indigo, and I brought some lines up. I just wanted to look like it's rolling hills. Now I know that I did that down here. I'm losing a little bit of it, so I'm going to go ahead and add some more, but I'm going to do it in a different color, I think. Let's see, I might want to pick up my burnt umber. Let's see, I think this is my burnt umber. Okay, I'll go ahead and make those lines. Now my paper is damp. It is not saturated, it is just damp. It was right in the middle of drying. But I think, it's still gonna bleed, so it should be just fine. It's too wet to go on to these two hills, so I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit naturally, and then I will be back. Okay, so I went ahead and let these dry naturally, and I'm ready to move on to those hills. I decided that I wanted to pick up my red violet for this hill, and I think I'm going to be doing my tangerine for this one. And then I'll put in a little bit of texture. So let's see how that goes. So I'm going to just put some water on the first hill. Ooh, look at that. I just love the way that bleeds. Little sunbursts. All right, I think I'm going to go even a little deeper. I'm going to pull in just a little bit of my cad red. Let's see what happens. Yeah. I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to drop in my indigo. Now this isn't ink, this is my watercolor, actual Winsor Newton watercolors. And I want to just leave a little bit of white space in there so it looks like there's like a smoky cloud. So I'm just going to start working it a little bit here and there. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my white. So this is just white watercolor, and I'm going to drop in just a little bit here and there because I want to just create this texture, smoky look. So it's going to turn that indigo into a lighter indigo as it dries. Okay, so it dried naturally, and I'm loving the way it ended up looking. All my reds and my oranges started making beautiful little patterns in here. And my sky down on the bottom is a little bit darker where the sky meets the hill. I love that. And it just dried naturally with all these like little smoky clouds in here. It actually looks like there's a little hole in the cloud, and maybe the rays of the sun are coming out. I don't know. It looks beautiful. So I'm going to leave that alone. And I went ahead as this was drying and I went through my little boxes of all my cutouts. And I've got a box of larger cutouts and of flowers, and then I have a box of smaller little cutouts of all my little florals. And I have a box of all my orbs that I've done. And I have another box of all my houses. So I went ahead and I pulled out just a handful of everything, and I'm just going to start playing around with seeing how I want this to look. So I know that I want the bigger house down towards the bottom, and I want them to get smaller as they go up because perspective, that's just the way it is. Everything farther away looks a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to play around with where I want these houses. I'm thinking around here. And then my larger florals, I usually keep these more towards the bottom. And if they cover the house a little bit, totally fine. And since I have a blue one over here, I might place the other blue one this way. And I'm going to probably put a little path in here too. Normally I put a little path in my my paintings. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that to this one yet. I'm not sure. And then I'm going to start. Oh, one other thing is my orbs. I always pick out one that's going to represent the sun or the moon. And I think I have a lot of oranges and yellows in this painting, so maybe that one would look really pretty. I do have that one. Okay, and then I'm going to start placing in where I want some of my orbs down here by the larger flowers. And I even have some that I've cut in half so that they could go on the edge of the painting. I'm going to start popping in some of these smaller flowers as well. I really like the orange ones. I've got a lot of orange and yellow in this painting. So I started laying out a little bit of my flowers and my my little orbs, And I'm thinking I need some little trees in the background over here. So I opened my little box of trees, my cutout trees, and there were none left. So I'm gonna have to create a few more. So I'm deciding how big I want these trees. I'm thinking I want maybe some like just really generic pine trees, and then I might actually have a couple regular trees as well. So I have my Arches watercolor paper here, and I'm just gonna start penciling in. Actually, let me turn my paper this way. I'm just gonna start penciling in some like arborvitae trees. I love those in the background. So I'm just gonna lightly pencil in a few of them. All right, so I penciled in a couple different shapes and sizes of different trees, and I'm gonna just fill them in with my Winsor Newton watercolors. So I've got a mixture here of my Hooker's green and my Viridian green and my sap green. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start filling in some of these. All right, so I went ahead and I did some more of my little pine trees and some regular trees. I did them in all sorts of little tones, muted tones of like purples, greens, and blues. And then whenever I cut it out and I put it into a different painting, I will then go ahead and alter it depending, like if the light source is coming from the right, I'll just put a little bit more paint on the left to give it a little bit more shadow. Sometimes I'll change the color a little bit and add a little bit of a different color in there. So I just wanted to make a generic little tree for right now that I can go ahead, cut out, put in my little box of trees, and then when I do take it out to put it in a painting, I can just alter it a little bit. So, and I'm not gonna fill up the rest of my sheet, so I'm just gonna cut this out. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut out all these individually. And then I'm gonna see which ones I wanna place into this painting. Okay, so I went ahead and placed some of the trees that I just created, and I'm thinking that this is the way I want it to look, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm just gonna start gluing down, and I'll probably just change it around as I go. And then I'm just gonna spread it around with my finger. Make sure that the whole leaf is covered. And then I'm just gonna place it right under, so I know that's exactly where it's gonna go. I hold it down for a few seconds and then I just continue on with the rest. So I went ahead and I glued everything down, and this is the way it turned out. I really am pleased with it. Now what I have to do is go ahead and put a little detail in the houses. So I am going to take my Velvet Touch Princeton brush. And what size is this? A 4. I might actually move down, but right now I'll try a 4. Okay, so I made a little mixture of Payne's Gray and my Cerulean Blue, and I'm gonna go ahead and put in some windows on my houses. So I think I'll do a window here. And then I'm gonna put a door, but I want it to be a different color. Maybe I'll pop out a little bit of this red to bring the red down. So I'm going to do a little mixture of my Cad Red and my Vermilion. Okay, and let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same color, maybe some little shutters on the house. I like to give my houses a little bit of detail, but not too much. I want them to be a little bit more simple. Because there's so much going on in my paintings, I just want the houses to be a little bit more simple, so it contrasts. Okay, so I'm gonna let the windows dry a little bit, and then I'm gonna put some grids on the windows. But right now, I think I wanna give my sky a little bit more texture. So I'm gonna move back to my size 12, and I'm gonna see if this works. But I'm gonna just scrub away a little bit and just lighten up my sky a little bit where it looks flat. There. I also think it needs maybe like a little fence or something going in here. So I'm gonna pick up my Dr. P.H. Martin Bleed Proof White, and I'm going to put a little bit on the cap. So I'm going to take a little bit out of here. I'm going to put a little bit more on the cap, a little bit more water just to reactivate what had dried. And then with just a little brush, I'm going to go in, and I think I'm going to pop, unless I want it here. You know what? Maybe I want the fence here. So I'm going to pop in a little white picket fence. I'm going to bring the lines down. But I might bring another little fence down here. All right, I think my windows are pretty dry. This one's a little wet, but I'm going to go ahead and start making some grids, and I'm using the same white. All right, so I went ahead and I finished the little white fence, and I deepened up the shadows on some of my trees because my light source from my moon is coming this way, so my shadows will be on the left. And then I went ahead and added shadows actually on the ground that the trees were making, and a little bit of shadowing under the two houses here. And I'm not sure if I'm done. I might still play around with this, but right now I'm gonna call it done. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, and you can make a comment in the comment section and let me know if you want more videos like this one. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.